Namaste, happy greetings to all. On behalf of the Heartfulness community channel, I am happy to invite all our brothers and sisters on this journey of becoming a new you, discovering a new you, moving into the state of new you with the help of the teachings of our great elders, the hierarchy of the Sahaj Mark, the Heartfulness tradition, the masters, who are trying to bring this transformation and awaken each one of us, reminding each one of us to the possibility of each one of us becoming masters. The state of masterhood, the perfect state lies in each one of us. We need to take this journey going inward to discover it, to become that. For this becoming, the masters have given us many techniques. And in this series of the 10 Maxims, the great master Babuji, he begins the book itself, which we learned last week. And he says, how can the path be described? Which is so wonderful. And he says, reality is beyond senses, beyond feeling. So, what is he saying by this statement? That we have to go beyond our senses, beyond our feelings. We have to master our senses. We have to master our feelings. Why? Because reality is hidden under the veil of darkness, and it shines forth through this veil of darkness. And that is this inner journey, is to travel towards that ultimate state which is beyond darkness, where reality is. And for that, he compares the 10 maxims of the Heartfulness way, the Sahaj Marg tradition, as the first 5 steps of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, the 5 yamas, the 5 niyamas, the asana, the breathing, the pranayama, and the pratyahara, which is diverting the senses towards this inner state of silence. And for that, our great elders, our living guide revered Daji, has been emphasizing on this fact of trying to practice the 10 maxims. And the first maxim last week we explored was to rise before dawn. When the time is conducive, the nature is cooperating for you to allow your thought process to go towards that state of silence, to the reality. And the things that will help us to have the same place, same time, the right posture, and the purity of the body and the mind. And today, revered Babuji is moving on to the second maxim, giving us guidance how to arrive at that state of ultimate reality, how to really discover the new you, how can you really glorify the leadership qualities inside you in the modern terminology, how to become the real master, master yourself, master the discover yourself, self realization in so many terms. Discover you is nothing but self realization. And in this, the second maxim states about beginning, how to begin. Even when you take a mundane journey of going on a vacation, how do you begin the journey? You make sure first your vehicle is right, is in shape, you get it maintained, You put gas, you pack your bags. So there is a preparation. So the movement of our preparation, of our thought process to go to that state of silence requires preparation. And that preparation, the second maxim says, begin your meditation with a prayer for spiritual evolution. Because a lot of times we forget this, we forget the goal. If you get on the car and you don't have the GPS, you don't know where you're going, how you're going, how do you get there? So the first step is praying for your own spiritual elevation. You have to sit in prayer with that attitude. And then you offer the prayer in such a way that the heart is filled with love. Why is that? Because the state of humility, the state of love, create a vacuity in the heart. And that vacuity attracts the grace to pour into our heart. And when that grace, which is transmission, the life force, finds its way into our heart, that transmission is what helps the Pratyahara, diverting our thought, diverting our senses, our mind towards that silence of our heart, preparing the mind to become first still, and then allowing that still mind to move into different states of samadhi, union towards this absolute state of balance. So let us explore and understand the second maxim which the great elders have given us. So we understand. First step is you have to understand the journey. When you have the understanding, you know the value of the steps. Without knowing the value of the steps, you miss one step, second step. You're trying to climb the third. At some point you fall apart because foundation has to be stable. So every maxim is a foundation for the next maxim. So let me share my screen so all of us together can embark on this journey of learning and understanding the teachings of the great elders of the heartfulness tradition. Okay. The Maxim 2 says, begin your meditation, and it is called puja in the Indian language. A lot of times we misunderstand puja as going to a temple and putting flowers on the idol. But the true puja, the meaning is meditation. So begin your meditation with a prayer for spiritual elevation, with a heart full of love and devotion. So the two important aspect of this maxim is our prayer for our spiritual elevation and heart being filled with love and devotion. So now we have to understand what is prayer and devotion, and what are we devoted towards. We are devoted to the goal, we are devoted to the path, and we are devoted to the guide who is taking you on the path to the goal. So devotion is at all levels, not just one. So prayer is the sign of devotion. When you come into a state of prayer, what is prayer? Let us remember that statement. Power of prayer is in humility. When we arrive at a state of humbleness, praying for the spiritual elevation, that is a sign of devotion. That means it shows that we have established a relationship with the Holy Divine. That means in your heart, your goal is fixed, your path is fixed, and your guide is fixed in your heart that He is the one who is taking me to this ultimate goal on this path. And that's how you establish a relationship with the ultimate, the Holy Divine. Finally, the connection is between you and the source. But without these three, you cannot reach the source. And when the idea of the divine mastership is established, our position turns into that of a serf. And here we have to remember Babaji Maharaj's statement that human perfection lies in realizing the master as the master in the true sense, and oneself as a serf devoted entirely to his service. So, to recognize the master as the master is not an easy thing. We get confused by the physical appearance. But if you look at our traditional history of the true masters of the yore, you see them as simple beings. People did not even know that they existed. So, our heart should be trained enough to recognize the master as the master. So, when the idea of divine mastership is established, our position turns into that of a serf. Now, service is the only concern of the serf. So, then you move into the state of service. And that is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita explained by revered Daji. Skill in action, self mastery, and selfless service. This is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So now we arrive at that state by creating a state of devotion through prayer. We come to that state of service. And here Babaji Maharaj gives the example of King Bharata, who was the brother of Lord Rama. And he talks highly of condition of the Bharata, saying that he was always in a state of prayer. And how was he able to establish this state of prayer? Because the entire journey is about allowing ourselves to be in that state of prayer and moving into a state of worship to that ultimate principle. And Bharata accomplished it by he never allowed his heart to be contaminated. He never allowed his heart to be contaminated, not polluted with anything but with esteem, regard, and devoted worship of the master. Who was his master? Who was his guru? Lord Rama was his guru. And he made sure the thought never went into the other direction of doubting him. He believed everything that the guide did was for his own good. So that is where he recognized the guru. And this example, Babuji says, must be kept in view for maintaining the relationship, which is the true form of devotion. So we can tell that we have arrived at a true state of devotion when our heart never questions what our guide is doing for you in your spiritual journey. Not what he is doing externally, but inside your heart, in your journey, are you able to feel the progress? So, why do we need to have prayer and devotion? Is the guide getting anything that if I am devoted to him or if I am praying? No, he's only a giver. In prayer, the devotee makes himself known to the master by the current of his power, not by where we are going and appearing physically in front of the guide and say, look at me, look at me. It is with the current of the power of the heart. What is the power of the heart? Love. What is the power of prayer? Humility. What is the power of the mind? Clarity. What is the power of intention? Will. With all this, you are making yourself in meditation come to that state of being and making your presence known to the divine current, which is in the form of a living guide who will in turn connect you to the source. So now, by the effect of devotion, that which is with the master begins to flow towards the serf. So when we actually come into that state of such a devotion and prayer, the power of the master, the transmission starts to flow towards us through the medium of connecting link set up between the two. Here, what is the connecting link between the guide and the student in the Heartfulness tradition? Is the transmission. Gradually, everything begins to flow into the serf. In the beginning, the devotee conveys his awareness and cognizance to the master. In the beginning, we try to connect to make him know that we are present here. But subsequently, the master, the guide, begins to adopt nearness to the devotee. When somebody is waiting without your knowledge, Your awareness goes towards that person who is waiting for your presence. Why prayer and devotion? When the nearness to the Master develops in the heart, the thought of actual communion began to pervade in the self. You start to be one with the state of being. When we say you are merging with the Master, it's not the physical presence, it is the superconscious state of being that is continuously connected with the source. The living guide's superconscious state of being is continuously connected with the source. By merging with the superconscious state of the Guru, the true communion of yourself with that ultimate starts to happen. And then what happens? Divine revelations and nature's commands then begin to descend upon you. And that is the first phase of the initiation thus comes to effect. And this initiation, Babuji talks, until and unless in the first maxim you begin the meditation, that is the primary initiation. Now, the first phase of the initiation comes into effect when you are able to be in this state of communion. So, we need to know how important these steps of meditation are, where you arrive at that state of being of prayer consciously and then connect yourself to that state. And why should prayer be offered with love? Revered Daji says the reason why prayer is offered with heart full of love and devotion is that one should create within himself a state of vacuity so that the flow of the divine grace and current may be diverted towards him. And so a constant practice brings a man constantly, as we are practicing to be in the state of humbleness and the state of love and devotion, it brings us to a state in which he begins to feel himself in prayer all through. And this statement, great Nanak Ji also says, finally, eventually, you are in a state of prayer, you are in a state of worship. It is all about worship. Then divine grace is set into motion. This vibration of divinity, the source, is set into motion because your power of your thought, your state of being is triggering that reaction in the source. And now it is flowing into you. So the divine grace is set into motion if you practice this way. Power of prayer is humility. A poet has once said, O thou thirsty for the divine intoxication. What is the divine intoxication? This immense bliss state of love of divinity itself. O thou, and those who are truly thirsty for that, continue to travel on the path. Some people, we just come for peace of mind. Some people come for something else, socialization, whatever be it. But those who are thirsty for the divine intoxication, those of you, empty thy heart for the purpose. The purpose is communion. For the head of the bottle of wine bows down only over an empty cup. When your heart is empty, divinity flows into you. An extreme attitude of humility creates that tilt. You are everything, I am nothing, you are enough for me. In that state of humbleness, there is a vibratory tilt in our being which attracts, which enables the grace from the divine to flow into our heart. So, how to create a permanent link with the guide? If a person develops a state of mind, your state of mind, that he is constantly in a state of prayer. So, our state of mind, whatever actions we do, should be in a state of prayer. And what is that state of prayer? Humbleness. So, no wonder during the Bandara also, Revered Daji talks about this beautiful quality of humility for both, for all, entire humanity. It is not just for women or men, because humility and courage, they come from the same center of the fourth point. Without humility, there is no courage. Without courage, there is no humility. So we have to develop this state of being, of humility, which is true prayer. So if a person develops a state of mind that he is constantly in a state of prayer, which implies he has realized his serfdom, that you are nothing and he is everything, and the Lord's mastership and greatness, He has established a permanent link of devotion. One who acquires this abides in a state of supplication permanently. And if you observe Revered Daji's body language, his state of being, he is continuously in that state of humbleness. But when he has to come and say something to correct us, you can see the immediate courage in him. He is not hesitating to say anything. So everyone must assume this state at the time of prayer. Then alone prayer is accepted. Look at this, prayer is a submission. Even 9 o'clock prayer is a submission to the ultimate that may this manifest. And if we submit it with a state of humbleness and prayer, then it is accepted. And this is the relationship of love which extends to the guide's heart. Prayer and remembrance. Remembrance brings a lover close to the beloved. The greater the love, the more does one advance towards him, the ultimate. The state of prayer is that of a devotee, and it is strengthened by love. And this is the first step in the ladder which helps us to climb up the ultimate. Climb up to the ultimate. What is the first step of the ladder? This remembrance leading to love, leading to a state of prayer, leading to a state of humbleness, and all these are the steps towards the ultimate. And all stages of spiritual advancement, this is an important statement, all stages of spiritual advancement are within the state of prayer. How do we offer the prayer? Babaji Maharaj says, withdraw yourself from all directions and turn to him. That is the Pratyahara. Withdraw your senses, withdraw your mind, sit in a proper posture where you are withdrawing the physical body, because you are creating an inner pralaya, as it called. When the stir in the center happened, particles fell, there was an expansion. So to go back to that center, now you have to contract. And so that is what this pratyahara is really is. Withdraw yourself from all directions and turn to him. The remembrance of everything should merge in remembrance of him. What is this everything? We are continuously remembering our problems, our children, our husband, our achievements, ourself. So many things we are remembering, all the things that we have to do in the world. He's saying the remembrance of everything should merge in remembrance of him. That is self annihilation, which is the embodiment of prayer. If one achieves and settles in this state, nothing else is required except remembrance. When you're able to settle in that state of prayer, you don't need to do anything. It keeps coming to you. There is extreme simplicity in spite of vibrations. There is calmness, no emotional excitations. And there is neither light nor darkness, and it is the end of all stages. Because where we are going, there is neither light nor darkness. Neither the sun shines there nor the moon. It is beyond. It is the nothingness. It is that state of neti, neti, neti. It is the absolute reality, the ultimate mark which we have finally to arrive at. So, when prayer is offered with an attitude of humbleness, it is fruitful. And so, what is the essence of prayer? The pointed attention upon the real, the ultimate, may be taken as the essence of prayer. It is the beginning of a state of consciousness, a superior and higher consciousness. So, by arriving at a state of prayer, we have already arrived at a state of higher consciousness. And oneness prevails in that ultimate consciousness. When we truly come to that state of prayer, there is oneness. That is why in the heartfulness prayer, when the prayer says, we are but slaves of our wishes, because you are already arrived at, there is no separation, you're all one. And prayer comes before that state is entered into. And prayer is a communication. You're communicating the feeling of your heart. Your thoughts cannot be communicated to the guide's heart. Your thoughts will not reach the source. That is why in meditation we have to arrive from thinking to feeling, because through feeling we merge with the ultimate, and it is the feeling that is conveyed as a vibration to the ultimate through the guide's heart. Prayer is a communication. It can range from the superficial to profound. It can be a simple conversation. It can evolve progressively to deeper levels of communication, and eventually it can become a state of communion. And prayer is a conscious attempt. That is why when you come into meditation, you cannot just like rush and just go sit and okay, let's begin meditation. It doesn't work. You have to consciously arrive, bring your state of being to that of a prayer. It is almost like, in union, even in physical union, you create an ambience. You have candles, you have lights, you have flowers, you have fragrance. So much preparation is made. And imagine how much preparation needs to be made for us to be in union with that ultimate purity. So, prayer is a conscious attempt to establish a connection with the source, a relationship with the source, and allow that relationship to blossom into a deep state of communion. And practice with the right attitude and intention, that will create a permanent state of prayer, which is a permanent state of humility with complete tenderness of the heart. And it becomes a state of constant osmosis with the divine source. Here, I would like to highlight the point of tenderness of the heart. In true spirituality, our heart really becomes so soft. And as we become softer and softer, that is the sign that we are progressing. And the heartfulness prayer says, O Master, thou art the real goal of human life. We are yet but slaves of our wishes. We, putting bar to our advancement. Thou art the only God in power to bring us up to that stage. So the prayer has four parts, and let us understand that. Who are we addressing in prayer? It says, O Master. Revered Daji and all the great masters said, we are addressing the Supreme Master, which is the ultimate source. Source is the pure nothingness. It is beyond creation, beyond consciousness. It has no mind. It is the beginning and the end. It cannot be touched by anything. So cannot hear our prayer. This is a profound statement. The ultimate has no mind. If it has mind, it is subject to the law of karma. And that is that ultimate state of thumb. That is why in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, in one of the samadhis is called Pashana Tulya, a stone like samadhi. Why this stone like samadhi? In the stone, there is no consciousness in the sense that the mind is not active. It is in the ultimate thumb state. And in the highest, it is not, it is that ultimate state of thumb where mind is not there, but it is in that utmost nothingness, ignorance, bliss. So to touch into that is not possible. So you touch that with the help of the Guru, whose consciousness is in osmosis with the source. So therefore, the need to be a someone who is in osmosis with the source, and that is the living master. Whether you experience it as the inner master at the core of your being or the living guide. It is the guide who responds to our prayer when it is a deep cry from the core of our being. He is the connecting link to the ultimate. And that is why you have to be careful in finding the right guru. If we tie ourselves with the wrong guide who is not capable, after some time, they can only take you up to where they are. Beyond that, they cannot take you. So, in that state, Babaji says, it is better to pray to nature directly that let me be guided to the right guru. The second part of the prayer is who is the goal? The master is the purpose of human life. Why? Because you want to come to that state of superconsciousness, his state of being, which is actually in osmosis with the source. So you want to become that. You want to be in osmosis with the source. So the master is the purpose of human life. Here we are all praying together for the highest state available to all human beings, because in prayer he says that we have to come to this oneness where all beings are one, can and then can only we can pray. I once went to Arizona, to a place, Sedona. And there is one temple area in the woods. It is just in the mountains. It's not really a temple, it's open air place. And I was very touched at one thing about that. Before you enter that sacred atmosphere, there is a place where you submit your prayers. Everybody can submit their prayers. And then you enter the next sanctuary where the statue of Lord Buddha is there. And there the statement says, now you pray for everybody's prayer wishes, whoever submitted prayers. There you don't pray for yourself, you pray for everybody. That is the true state of prayer. You are praying for everybody. Here we are all praying together for the highest state available to all human beings. The state of the master which is in osmosis with the source. So the second part is including entire humanity. See how powerful our prayer is. The next statement is about the collective human situation where our wishes are pulling us down and have become obstacles for the progress. So every time we pray truly from the heart, we truly are creating an egregore and we are praying for the entire humanity, for the shift in humanity. So it is a humble and honest acceptance of our situation, that they are taking away the wishes are taking us away from our progress of becoming one with the absolute, with the medium of the guide who is in osmosis with the absolute. Thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that stage. The last line is a humble acknowledgement that the master who is embodied with the power of divinity itself is the one who can take us up to that stage. So, master is the divine power who can help us up to reach the ultimate goal. We cannot reach there only by our self effort of the lower self because our ego fails us. All the weights, if the balloon is having some rock holding on to it, can the balloon fly? So, our selves are burdened with the rock of the ego, and the guru gradually, bit by bit, makes that knot loosen. So the rock of the ego falls off and he catches you and takes you further. So we depend on the higher self of the guide to create that state in us. And this also implies through the guide, through the superconscious state of the guide, we are praying to the absolute to take us to the final state. So, what is the culmination of prayer? When the world emerged in the present form, the central point was already rooted deep in all the beings. Like our children having our gene, same way, the gene of the Supreme Ultimate is in us. This being a part of the Supreme, it turns our attention towards the Source. And that gene in us, that speck of divine light in us, is what makes us turn towards the Source. And in prayer, we try to reach up to that point. This is, however, possible only when we create a similar state within. We have to create that state of pralaya, where we withdraw and go towards that beginning. And this requires practice. It can be attained by resigning ourselves to the divine will, which is absolutely simple and tranquil. What is this state of resignation to the divine will? It is that state of being that we arrive at when we master the fourth point of the water, where we come to a choiceless awareness described by sage Patanjali. And that state of choicelessness of our mind does not trigger the vrittis and allows the nirodha to let go of the samskaras, where our mind becomes so still in that state of complete humbleness and surrender. That is why surrender begins at that fourth point journey. And when person creates in himself a strong craving for the absolute, they are indeed in a state of prayer. So the craving is for the absolute. When a person enters into that state for even a moment, their prayer is granted, but it requires practice to accomplish it. Prayer is dynamic, link with the source. So, what are the practical steps as ordinary human beings? For us is relax, breathe, center yourself, come into your heart, and enter your sacred space with a lot of reverence. and bring yourself consciously to that state of humbleness and create an extreme state of meekness with a longing in the heart, and feel that, remind yourself that your heart is filled with deep love and devotion for the Lord. And from that state, in a state of supplicant feeling, offer the prayer and submit. And master's remembrance. If the master begins to remember the devotee, it implies that the fire of the feelings of the devotee has reached the master, and he has been apprised of the fact that some devotee remembering him. And in other words, the voice has reached the ears of the master. And when a person hears the sounds regarding the call of somebody, the person who is called, the master, then attends to it, and after attending it to it, if he realizes that he has been called with love and devotion, then the love for the person who has called gets developed in him. So he's saying, when the master hears the call, are you remembering him with being mad at him, or are you remembering him with love? They're able to sense it. Because there were times that I used to be upset, and I am in remembrance, but I'm getting mad at him. So then it is not drawing the grace. So we have to correct ourselves that whatever the guide does is for our good. So the poet Kabir has written that mere Ram mujhe baje jab tab paun vishram. That means, when my guru starts remembering me, only then I will feel full peace in me. And this condition is quite worthy of praise, and the elders have interpreted it in this way, that in this condition the God is the beloved and the devotee is the lover. So when you are truly able to arrive at that state, he begins to love you. In the tradition of the Bhakti Marg, the way of the devotion, it is taken as a very high stage, and we are guided by the Bhakti Marg, which is the state of devotion, the way of devotion. So, prayer for spiritual elevation with heart full of love and devotion. During meditation, enter your sacred space with a prayer for spiritual evolution. Bring yourself to a state of utmost humbleness in prayer, and suggest to yourself that your heart is filled with love and devotion for the presence of the great master, and that the divine light that is present within you is pulling you inwards, and allow yourself to merge in that sacred ocean of light and love with utmost reverence. So that is the brief idea of understanding the second maxim. Let us try and meditate for a short time now. Close your eyes softly. Take a deep breath and let go. Feel grounded to the earth. Feel the healing energy flowing from the earth into your being. Relaxing your toes, feet, ankles, and your legs. Take a deep breath and let go gently. Feel the energy flow into your knees, thighs, and hips. Feel firmly grounded in the seat. Feel the free flow of energy flowing there, relaxing you. Take another deep breath and let go gently. Feel the energy flow into your lower back and into your upper back. Relax your entire back, keeping your spine erect. Bring your awareness to your stomach muscles. Feel the energy flow there. Take a deep breath and let go. Feel the energy flow into your chest, Relax your chest. Bring your awareness to your fingers. Feeling the energy, relax your fingers, palms, wrists, lower arms, elbows, and upper arms. Feel the free flow of energy flowing in your hands, relaxing your hands. Take another deep breath and let go. Bring your awareness to your shoulders. Feel the stress melting away. Relax your shoulders. Consciously relax your neck, jaws, tongue. Relax your facial muscles. Deeply relax your eyes, eyebrows, temples, and forehead. Feel your brain is resting. Your mind is calm. Your body is completely relaxed. Bring your awareness to your heart. Feel your heart. Enter your sacred space. Bring yourself to a state of humbleness in prayer. Feel the heart is filled with love and devotion. In that state of prayer and love, make the intention the source of light is present within you. The light from the source is illuminating your entire being. Your mind is drawn to this light. Your mind is resting in the light. The ocean of light, the ocean of love is in you. You are a drop submerged in this ocean. Rest in the light with utmost reverence. Let's meditate. That's all. Feel the calmness spread throughout your being. From this place of calmness, make the intention. All my senses are in a state of balance. They have arrived at their original character. All my feelings are in silence. All the chakras in my system are in a state of balance. They are in harmony with each other. Every cell in my being is imbued with the feeling of love and gratitude. Every cell in my being is absorbing the silence. Feel the calmness spread throughout your being. You may open your eyes when you are ready. Thank you all for joining the meditation session today. On behalf of the Heartfulness community, we are very grateful. You may write to us at social media at volunteer.heartfulness.org. This email address is running on the screen. And if you like to receive the PowerPoint so you can study for yourself, you may write to them and receive the PowerPoint presentation. So let us continue our efforts of the practice. On the earth plane, the only thing that works is sadhana, practice. In Telugu, there is a saying, sadhanamuna panulu samakuru daralona. That means on the earth, you can accomplish everything with practice. So let us accomplish these high states of being with dedicated practice, having clear understanding. Thank you all for joining the Heartfulness community. We will see you later.